So by now, everyone's pretty much seen all there is to see or know or hear about the whole Hamlin situation, about what happened in the Monday Night Football game between the Bengals and the Bills. Needless to say, it was quite the weird situation. I was coming home from work, ready to watch that game. It was the highlight game of the Monday Night Football slate for the 2022 season, probably the whole NFL season as a whole, as you had two powerhouse AFC teams, great quarterbacks. The game meant a lot in terms of the standings. Yeah, it was sort of a hype matchup. Didn't see the play as terms of the hit when it happened, but the way they were talking about it, it was like, whoa. I was kind of scared to go back and watch it because I thought it was like some kind of brutal like back or neck injury. So when I went back and watched it, it was like, oh, it's kind of a, garden variety NFL hit that Hamlin made on whoever it was, Higgins. So you watch the hit and it was just like, oh, okay then. But I guess it was clearly something, where he had some kind of probably pre-existing heart condition or something, whatever, that made him have the cardiac arrest. So when you're down in the field and you're hearing about CPRs, it's like, you've seen injuries in the past happen like that in terms of having a cart carried out and, the stadium gets quiet, but this is on a whole nother level. So needless to say, the whole thing, they didn't exactly cancel the game for nothing, And then in the days that came after that, the whole thing of having the game like just sort of like called or just saying the game won't be resumed, I think ended up being the right decision in the fact that it was too late in the season. Had it happened at a different time, I probably, would have had the game be played again because it was like, you don't just cancel a game just for nothing. But given the circumstances and when the play actually happened in terms of the situation, in terms of how late in the season it was, I get it. But when it came to Hamlin, obviously everyone's super, worried about his recovery and whatnot. And thankfully he has made a recovery to where, obviously he's not dead. That was sort of a real thing where you see him lifeless on the ground and CPR having to be administered and hear about, tubes in his mouth for breathing. That kind of shit really is something. And I don't know if this video, the timing is sort of the best as the Patriots-Bills game actually is going on right now. And amazingly, they had a touchback after the kickoff. The Bills got the kickoff, ran it back for a touchdown. It was quite the sight to see. But I actually think it's gotten to the point where all of this coverage is just a bit kind of over the top. When all this stuff happened, it was just a 24-hour news cycle about Hamlin coverage. That's pretty much what ESPN did, and just sort of the tone on all the network the whole day was just so goddamn somber. But now it's kind of gotten to the point where, days later, we're getting this coverage that is treating this event like it's 9/11 or some shit like that. In terms of everyone wearing the number 3, ESPN, they did a whole thing wearing the number 3. Teams across the league are doing some kind of prayer circle at the beginning of the game, sort of, for Hamlin and shit like that. It's just like, I think at times this kind of coverage or when these kind of events happen, I do think things get to the point where it's kind of overboard, where you sit back and watch and it's just like, is all this really necessary? Are we really going to go so over the top to sort of say we just got to sort of overdo it with our coverage, with our celebration, treating everything like it's the biggest deal in the world? It's honestly crazy. See the coverage everything's happened over the past few days. It is a very unprecedented situation in the NFL in terms of just being like, whoa, you never see something where a game was, at least I haven't, where a game was canceled because of injury. But I do think some of the coverage is treating this shit like it's 9/11 and that he actually died. It's kind of crazy. So if I have to see any more of this coverage next week, I will be like, okay, that's enough. Y'all are definitely going overboard to the point where I almost feel like this event is almost becoming kind of like commercialized in a way, if that makes sense. That won't be a popular opinion. I know, everything, all the networks are saying the same over the top shit, but that's kind of just how I feel. But everyone definitely is, happy that Hamlin is okay and the situation didn't end in tragedy. But maybe we should avoid treating this like it's the next 9/11. That's a little weird. when it comes to ramifications about what happened with the injury, getting back to the football, it created a situation where because of one less game played and then the Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs are all close in the standings, the whole thing is the whole solution is coming up with a neutral site for what's going to happen in the NFC or AFC championship game. That would only happen if the Bengals and if the Bills and the Chiefs meet, if the Bills can hold on and beat the Patriots, which currently at the time I'm recording this are up 13-7, or no, 14-7. So that would be the situation there. I think it's kind of the best that they can do. I mean, I personally, I guess if I was running things, I'd just be like, you know what? A game was called. We called the game in a tie, and I probably would just say Kansas City, y'all can have it, I guess. But the solution to put it at a neutral field, I actually don't think is a bad one. Just in the fact that, you know what, if there is a game less played, the opportunity that the Bills, couldn't have to keep their number one seed, which they were at the time. Now, there's no guarantee they would have beaten the Bengals. They were down, 3-7 at the time when the game was called and whatnot. But still, I actually think that decision actually isn't that bad, even though I personally, I guess if I was running things, I would have just said F it, just give the Chiefs the one seed, shit happens. But, the neutral site thing isn't bad either. Definitely be curious to see how that would play out. I'm guessing the neutral site would probably be, I guess I would end up having it in probably Cincinnati. And I would let actually the fans who got jobbed out of their tickets for that night, no one's talking about that. If I was a fan, I'd be pretty upset, just being like, what the hell? Paid for this game, primetime game, and it just gets, the rug gets pulled out of me gets pulled from under me like that. Hopefully those fans, can get compensated in some way. I get it, it's an unprecedented situation, but money's money, and going to an NFL game is definitely not cheap. So there you go. So there you go with my reaction to some of the shit that happened, the stuff that happened this week when it comes to Hamlin. Obviously everyone's glad he's okay. Then you got my thoughts on the coverage. Like I said, a bit over the top. Let's calm down, people. This ain't exactly 9/11 happening like that. Calm the fuck down. That's a bit much. So that'll do it for this vid. Made it to the end. Thank you for watching.